Hello YouTube, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting in a Fan. The date is Tuesday, January 28th, 2020, and the time is approximately 10:33 p.m. Eastern Time. In my desire to catch up on a lot of outstanding videos, I am going to continue catching up with Llewellyn's 2019 Tarot Calendar. And I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of the cover of this calendar. Hello, Bast. And I hear Durga. And we're going to go directly to October 2019. The October 2019 entry of Llewellyn's 2019 Tarot Calendar entry. And I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of this. And he'll be happy to know this is the last close-up of this video. So, we're going to talk about the Two of Cups. We're going to talk about one of the symbols in this Two of Cups. And I'm going to read the journal blurb and the How Do We Hold Emotions blurb. Which is so appropriate because, number one, Scorpio is a water sign. When the month of October begins, the sun is in Scorpio. I'm sorry, no. Yes, I had it right. Libra. Towards the end of October, the sun is in Scorpio. I always associate October more with Scorpio and Libra, and that's probably because my late maternal grandmother's birthday was October 25th. And not only was she born under the sun sign of Scorpio, her year of birth makes her ruling planet Mars, because when she was born, the planet Pluto had yet to be discovered. And by the way, in astrology, Pluto has always been a planet. The sun has always been a planet. The moon has always been a planet. So, I'm going to talk about the Two of Cups generally. You know, I always look at the Two of Cups intuitively as the blossoming of a divine romance, or the blossoming of a romantic relationship. And it could also be an indication that that couple is building on something. Hence, the cup card following it being in the Three of Cups. But now I'm going to read what the Barbara Moore wrote about this card. Like all the twos, this card is about choices. We may think that we have no choice when it comes to falling in love, but we do. We can decide to be open to it, inviting it in, or we can close our hearts. Now, as somebody who used to have a series of dysfunctional romantic relationships, I'm not entirely sure if we choose to close our hearts. I think that many of us have become so frustrated. And it just takes too much energy to keep our hearts open. And sometimes it is so much easier to close our hearts. I can no longer afford to do that in any way, shape, or form. But I know that sometimes, in spite of all the good things that are in my life, keeping my heart open can be challenging. You know, and something that's happened in my life previously, not in my previous life, but in my life before this moment in time, is that there are certain relationships that ended before they began. And I always found that so frustrating. It was like, what the hell, you know? So I don't think that it's a choice. I mean, yes, we can choose to keep our hearts open. I think that is definitely a choice. I agree with Barbara Moore on that. But I think that sometimes it's easier to close our hearts because we just don't want to deal with the same old over and over again. Yeah. I could say more about that, but as I'm fond of saying, that's another topic for another video for another day. Now, I must admit, it's so frustrating because I have this tarot deck, and I would have loved to have been able to use the Santa Muerte Tarot for a spread for this month. But they didn't consult me, and I get it. Symbol, hand touching heart. Instead of two people touching chalices or cups, indicating emotional connection, this image is more direct. Someone is literally touching our heart. The experience can be amazing, but may also make us feel vulnerable. And that's one thing that I really have noticed. You know, and noticed for myself and noticed in general with other people. You know, there is this thing about men not being vulnerable. There is this thing about men not wanting to be vulnerable. And it takes a lot of courage for a man. And I say that as a man, and specifically as a man-born male. It takes a lot of courage for men in general. And at the risk of offending people that are trans, I don't want to offend people that are trans because I love trans people very much. I've had the honor and pleasure of meeting several that are wonderful, amazing people. I find, for me personally, as a gay man and as a man-born male, that it can be very challenging and it can be difficult. Not it is difficult, but it can be difficult to be vulnerable, especially when being completely open and honest about one's emotions, whether it's about one's emotions about life, about another person, about the potential for romance, about romance in general. You know, it really takes a lot for a lot of people. And I've been noticing myself, there are a lot of new relationships that are forming in my life, a lot of new friendships that are forming. And there is this part of me that wants to be vulnerable. And there's another part of me that's like, I need to protect myself. I need to like close off. And I don't like living that way. I really love being open-hearted and light-hearted. I prefer it, actually. You know, I'd rather save my drama, or what I call drama, trauma, melodrama, for the shows that I watch. You know, I don't want it to be in my own life. I want it to be on the screen that I can turn off whenever I want to turn it off. Or change the website, or change the station as it is. You know, I have not watched TV in such a long time. It's strange because, you know, even my favorite shows, I really don't know when they're broadcast. You know, one show, Law and Order Special Victims Unit. I know that it's on Friday nights now. Used to be Thursdays, used to be Wednesdays, now it's Friday nights. Anyway, so this card is also about an indication of how open we are to being vulnerable, how open-hearted we are, and how open we are to expressing our hearts and sharing our hearts with other people. As the spirit comes upon me. So, and again, twos in the tarot are partnership cards. So this is really about what inner work, this, for me intuitively, this card points to the inner work one must do to have the kind of relationship one wants. And even though it is the Two of Cups, it's not necessarily exclusively about a romantic relationship. It could be, and it usually is, but that doesn't mean that it always is. Sometimes it's about how we can have a greater relationship with those who are already in our lives. You know, I remember in, and I think it was in Louise Alhay's audio, Loving Oneself, she said that one of the things that she recommended doing is looking at oneself in the mirror and saying, I love you. I really love you. But the other thing that she recommended is at the start of our days, at the start of our mornings, looking at ourselves in the mirror and asking, how can I love you more today? And also asking the people in our lives, how can I love you more today? Now, for the record, I don't think I've done that. I don't think I've ever asked somebody that I love and adore, how can I love you more? But that's something that I think I need to do for myself. But I have asked myself in the mirror, how can I love you more today? And you know what? Some of the answers that I've received from myself, or as I would say from the great goddess, really have made those days even more loving and even more fulfilling. Anyway, how do we hold emotions? You know what? I'm going to read that last. I'm going to read the journal prompt first. The Two of Cups is often described as that feeling when you lock eyes with someone across a room and just know that there is an attraction. Just because we are attracted to something doesn't mean that it is good for us. Let me read that again. Just because we are attracted to something, or someone as the case may be, doesn't mean that it is good for us, even if it seems to sweep us off our feet. Remember, twos are about choice. While the feeling of desire or connection can be strong enough to feel like fate or destiny, we do have free will. How do you handle an attraction to something you know isn't right for you? And I'm going to read that part again. How do you handle an attraction to something or someone you know is not right for you? Now, for myself, I actually don't know how to handle that. I think that sometimes I believe that something is meant to be, and that it is the goddess's will, or the great goddess's will, and sometimes I'm totally off about that. And this is for myself. I'm speaking solely for myself at this point. And one thing that I've begun to realize since the beginning of January of 2020 is that just because I have a thought doesn't mean that I need to execute it. And that's something that's coming up for me in regards to some of the things that I'm doing in my professional psychic practice. And also in my personal life. I mean, just because I think this thought or I have this idea, it doesn't mean that this is the goddess's way of saying full speed ahead, go with me and go forward. Sometimes it means that's a nice idea and I'm going to sit on it a little while and see what comes up. I'm going to contemplate that idea and see what is revealed in my mind. And just because I believe something to be good and wonderful and loving doesn't mean that it is meant to be. Although personally, I've never liked or felt comfortable with the expression, it just wasn't meant to be. Because that implies forever. In my mind, anyway. And it's like, that's a long time, you know? How do we hold emotions? We usually say that the Suit of Cups is about emotions, and that is true. But really, it is the water in the cups that represents emotion. The cups, the physical vessels, are how we hold our emotions. Cups are more like our relationships with others and with our own feelings. So our relationships with our blood relations, our relationships with our friends, our relationships with our neighbors, our relationships with our coven, our relationship with our congregation, our relationships with the people with whom we work. And of course, for those of us who are in romantic relationships, our relationships with our life partners, with our spouses, with our husbands, with our wives, with our love mates, as I love to say. The Santa Muerte Tarot has it right in showing skulls as the cups, because while we may feel our emotions in our hearts, the way we think about them and the value or stories we attach to them shape our lives far more than the actual emotions themselves. I'm going to read that again. The Santa Muerte Tarot has it right in showing skulls as the cups, because while we may feel our emotions in our hearts, the way we think about them, meaning the way we think about our emotions, and the value or stories we attach to them, shape our lives far more than the actual emotions themselves. As you study the cups in tarot, pay attention not only to the emotions that are present, but also to how those emotions are being processed or presented. Notice how feelings and thoughts about those feelings are shaped by a relationship and vice versa. So, for those of you who pull your own tarot cards, whether it's for the day, for the week, twice a day, for the month, notice how often Cups cards show up. Now, because this is the entry for October 2019, I'm going to say pay attention to any of the cards that are shown in your readings. And for those of you that are using tarot, that are Cups cards between October 1st, 2019 and March 31st, 2020. If you're using an oracle card deck, notice how many cards depict water, or cups, or moving bodies of water, such as lakes or rivers, oceans or waterfalls. Actually, lakes are not moving bodies of water. Rivers, oceans, and waterfalls are. but any cards that depict either a cup or a chalice or a bat or a bowl or some other vessel that can be used to contain or hold water, or any cards that have the word emotion or emotions on them, or any heart chakra cards, or any throat chakra cards, or any crown chakra, like from heart chakra up. No, from solar plexus chakra up. Yeah. From solar plexus chakra up to the crown chakra and even above. Notice that. Also, any minor arcana card, or rather any minor chakra cards, like let's say any cards that depict hands, as in the Santa Muerte Two of Cups, the hand that's literally reaching under this rib cage, holding the other's heart. I really feel like I've said everything I need to say about this entry for Llewellyn's 2019 Tarot calendar. And I also feel led to say, pay attention to the presence of cups in your readings. Pay attention to the presence of cups cards in your daily draws, or in your daily draws and nightly draws, or midday draws if you do the same thing. Also pay closer attention to cups when they come out in your clients' readings or your friends and loved ones' readings, or if they come out in your dreams, or if you're using an oracle card deck as opposed to a tarot deck. And I'm sorry, Bost stepped on one of my toes, of my big toe of my left foot, with one of her paws. You know, she doesn't look, she's not a dainty little thing. I know that sometimes she kind of looks dainty and little, but she's not little and dainty anymore. She still maintains a level of grace for the most part, but you have to look closely to see it. If you're using an oracle card deck, pay closer attention to any cards that depict cups, or moving bodies of water, or bodies of water that don't move, or hands, as in the hand that has the minor chakras reaching out to another's heart, or reaching out to the hand of another, or any cards that correspond to the solar plexus, chakra, and upward. And I absolutely invite all of you to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not already done so. And I absolutely recommend that you turn notifications on. That way you will know every time I upload a video. And if you have not already scheduled your reading for February 2020, or your appointment for your psychic service with me, or from yours truly, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, I highly recommend you do so. I am completely booked up for January 2020, and have been booked up for January 2020 for about a week or two or so. But I still have a lot of availability remaining for February 2020. Not all that much, but still some. What are you doing, Durga? Durga was doing something very naughty. Anyway, with that being said, YouTube, thank you so much for honoring who I am and what I do. Thank you very much for the likes. Thank you very much for the shares. And as I've stated previously, comments on my videos make me happy. Likes on my videos make me a little happier. Shares on my videos make me super happy. But most importantly of all, and the thing that makes me the happiest of all, is when people who watch my YouTube videos avail themselves of my psychic services. So if you are, at the bottom of my triple moon pendant, if you comment on if you give my video a like, you're at the bottom of the triple moon. If you give my video a share, you're at the top of the veil. And if you comment on my videos, then you're at the midway point between the top of the pendant and the top of the loop of the chain, or the clasp. And of course, if you avail yourselves of my psychic services after watching one of my videos, then you're really up here for me. And really, that's what makes me happiest of all. You know, I've often said that having a reading is a very personal thing, and availing oneself of a psychic service is a very personal thing, and I stand by that. I truly believe that if you're going to have a reading, if you're going to avail yourself of a metaphysical consultation, if you're going to have an energy healing treatment, if you're going to have a private metaphysical class, or participate in a group metaphysical class, that really is a very personal thing. And I don't think that any psychic or intuitive or metaphysical or magical practitioner has the right to say, well, you should do it this often, or you should do it with this person, or you should do it this whatever. I don't believe that we have the right to do that. What I do believe is that you must follow your intuition as to say, this person, this frequency, this is how much I want to spend, this is how much I feel comfortable spending, this is the kind of psychic services that would work best for me right now. All of that you must come to your own, not somebody else saying, do this. And I stand by all of that completely. And I feel that you also need to follow your intuition. If your intuition has been telling you to use my psychic services and you haven't done so, what's the reason? Is it because of a circumstance? Is it because of fear? Is it because of something else? I don't know. And I don't need to know. And I really don't want to know. But if you've been resisting using my psychic services for more than a year, then I'm like, why are you watching my videos? Because that's what comes to mind. Like, if you're going to keep resisting the intuition or the divine guidance or the intuitive leading that says, avail yourself of Robert Alvarez's psychic services, then why even bother watching my videos? Because it's going to be like rubbing salt in the wound, right? I don't know, just a thought. But in the meantime, YouTube, as always, thank you very much for honoring who I am and what I do. Thank you for the likes, thank you for the shares, thank you for the comments. And I am absolutely open and receptive to the new clients and the returning clients who are going to avail themselves of my psychic services in 2020, the year of a solid, balanced foundation. Isn't that right, Bost? Isn't that right, Durga? Nothing. And good night.